What's up, you guys? It's Miami Night, your Master Grief educator and trainer, coming to you today with a very anticipated story. If I would have to say so myself, I've been waiting to interview this family, which often you hear me say in interviews in regards to losing Ty-Key. When I talk about the initial shooting from 2011, I often say Ty-Key was critically injured in an incident that claimed the life of his best friend. Well, we have the family members of the best friend, which is Keondrick Abrams. Yes, say his name, Keondrick Abrams. His family is here today to share how they are still processing the loss of their son, nephew, and grandson. So please welcome them and just enjoy and listen to how, since 2011, how they've tried to make sense of their loss and how they're still dealing with what grief looks like for them. Stay tuned. And welcome back, Grief Nation listeners. Today on the show, we have three very special guests regarding the remembrance of Keondrick Abrams, and this is called the Family Interview. I have today Mother Chandra Robinson, grandmother Letibria McCrea, and also Letibria Locke. How are you ladies doing?
We're doing fine.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to jump right into our interview. And I wanted just to talk about on December 17th of 2011. So can you share the story of Keondrick and what happened, and how did your family become a homicide survivor of a victim of a violent crime? Okay.
On December 17th, 2011, my son Keondrick Abrams was shot twice in the head on his way to see my grandmother at Baptist Hospital. The last remembrance of him was he had just came home bringing me something to eat, and we sat at the table to eat, and a friend came in and told him they was finna leave. And he asked me to do a little two-step dance with him. And we stood up and did a little two-step dance, which he doesn't dance much at all. So that surprised me. And he left, and that was the last time I seen him alive.
Thank you so much, Chandra, for sharing that. I'm going to go right into his aunt. Can you share a little bit more of what happened on that evening? Letibria.
I guess so. On December 17th, 2011, right after he left his mom, I met up with Keondrick and Ty-Key, and we were actually talking about school, because Daddy was planning on going to Georgetown for January, because he had not too long graduated and got his GED, and he wasn't even there a week. So we talked about that, and we talked about science and stuff like that. And I said, well, I'm gonna go, sit up there with grandmama for a little bit. And that was the last time I actually seen him alive. But I talked to them, in between that time, when they were saying that they were going to Addis Court and they'll be right there. So from Addis Court to Baptist Hospital is like a 5-minute drive. And it actually took them longer. And in the hospital room was me and my mom. We was talking to my granny, and we kind of found out some bad news about my grandmother that day, that she had colon cancer, and with blood clots and stuff, they basically told my mom that they couldn't do nothing else for her, which my mom was her caregiver. So that was kind of like something we already was dealing with at that moment. And I was gonna spend a night at the hospital. So I told them, while me and mom go home and bathe, y'all come up here and sit with grandmama, since y'all right around the corner. So I was calling them and texting them and calling and texting from Ty-Key phone to daddy phone, I was like, and then I did get angry. I kind of cussed them out. That's what they auntie do sometimes to
Absolutely.
get them together. But I just never thought that something had went on with them of that nature. And we were getting ready to leave, and the hospital said, everybody go back to what room you were in. The hospital is on lockdown. And I said, what the hell they got to do with us? You know, and not knowing it had so much to do with us. And me and my mom, we still kind of walked down to sneak out because we were like, man, we gotta get back up here. You know, and the longer we sit up here, the longer we don't go home and get the bathe and come back up there. So we end up sneaking outside, and we seen a whole bunch of police. I got in my car and I said to my mom, oh my God, that's that car that Daddy and Donk was in. And how she is, no, it's not. Don't be saying that. You don't know what's going on. And it was just so crazy how majority of my families that's close to each other were like in the area. Chandra was right there at Barnes, which is a 3-minute drive. My cousin Kiki, them was like 3 minutes away going from the left side of Baptist. It was just crazy how everybody was in that area. And once we got around and I said, sir, can you tell me what's going on? My nephews was in this car, but I'm thinking that maybe they have did something wrong, got on a high-speed chase or something. That's what was in my mind at the moment, you know. And then he said, we have one dead and one in critical condition. And I said, oh my God, like, what do you do when you hear that? You know, you don't know what to do. And once Chandra pulled up and her youngest son Dave pulled up, and at that moment when I looked towards the car, I seen Daddy's belt, and how I remember the belt always, because I always mess with them about those cheap looking belts from out of those pants you used to get from the flea market, the cargo pants. And I never felt this feeling before in my life. My body just shut down. I fell to the ground and I just kept screaming his name. I kept saying, Daddy, Daddy. And Chandra was like in shock. Like she said, basically, don't say that. You don't know that's him. And I said, Chandra, it's his belt. And then I looked, you know, my mama jumping up and down screaming. And I'm like, basically like the Rock, like I hold everybody down. I be strong at that moment. I didn't have no strength for nobody. And for me, through the whole ordeal, that's what kind of hurted me the most, because his baby brother was there crying. I'm watching everybody, but I'm on the ground. Yeah. I can't do nothing but reach for him, hoping that, you know, he would reach back and say, you know, Auntie, I'm okay. And that's like one of the most, like, of that night, the worst memory of it all. Like just me calling out to him, and you know, he's not speaking back, and I couldn't hold my mama, I couldn't hold my sister, my other nephew. Like I couldn't be that Rock that I am.
Yeah. And
that really, like, just still to this day tearing me up.
Yeah. You guys, we all have such a connection between the two of these boys, and I just thank you so much as a family of coming on and talking about this, because I think, and not that I only think, I know with sharing your story, giving you all the opportunity to share it, and I'm sure you've probably shared it plenty of times, but I would love to see you guys be able to honor Keondrick so much more on a different platform for other families, because other families need to see, you know, how you guys were able to overcome this, even though there's still all of these emotions that we have inside about them. You with this program, I'm sure someone else will have the ability to say, you know what, they did it, so we can do it. Because a lot of people are afraid to share their story at any given point, no matter where you are within your life, I do feel that we all have a voice on the, down on the inside of us that needs to be shared with others. Because there's, how many times have you heard since the shooting of Keondrick and Ty-Key, how many families have been affected by gun violence? So many, right?
Right.
Yes.
And it kept happening after Ty-Key was shot, right? It happened
Yes.
so many times. I remember when I was there, when he was not was released from ICU and then went into the rehab program. It was week after week after week, like 3 or 4 times a week, and I just hadn't known that Pensacola had gotten that bad, because I wasn't there that often. But and it's still happening. It's still going on. And I just do truly believe that your story is going to be able to give hope and light to some other family, because you have decided to, show up and share it here with us today. So outside of me talking about what happened in this crime, which I will get into later, but let's learn about who Keondrick, aka Little Daddy. So if you guys hear us, Grief Nation listeners, if you do hear them say Daddy or Little Daddy, that's Keondrick's, aka Ty-Key is also Dunk. He is also Mr. Slug Mode. So they have all these special names. But I would love for each of you to share who Keondrick was outside of this tragedy, and what was his childhood and teen years like?
Well, to me, when I first held Keondrick, he was 4 months old, and I fell in love with him. And I'm not ashamed to say that I was in federal prison at the time he was born, and I came to my aunt's funeral, June the 4th, 1994, to see her put to rest, her homegoing services. And I held Keondrick. They let me come home, and I held Keondrick for the first time in my arms, and I fell in love with him. And yes, everybody told me that he's my favorite grandchild. Like they say, you're not supposed to have no favorite, but we do. And I'm not the only one. A lot of people keep their head, but we do have favorites. And it was just something about him. He always had a smile. He was very compassionate. And I saw a side of that when they were staying with me, and I had to call the ambulance one night to come and get his mama, Chandra Robinson, because she suffered with sickle cell disease. And he started crying, and he tore that face up looking ugly, crying about his mama. He said he's so tired of him coming getting his mama, her being sick. And that showed me a different side. He was younger then. So no matter what a person may look like to another person, until you really know the depths of their heart, then you can understand who they are.
Absolutely.
And he was a quiet person. He loved to sing and rap, him and Ty-Key. And I love Ty-Key too. He's my grandbaby too,
Yeah.
And it still hurts today. I just went to see him. I tell people that I go put flowers on the grave often. I just went to see them again with my son, my mom, and all of them. And I put flowers on all their graves because this is just me, and I want everything to look nice. Like they looked nice when they was walking around. I want their place of rest to represent how they looked in life.
Absolutely.
And it hurts, and I really don't have the words to say, but tell them just take each day at a time. And there's nothing wrong with crying. It heals and it helps. And I still cry. I cry a lot at night by myself.
Yes.
And I'm a private person. I don't want nobody in the house with me while I'm doing it, because I don't want nobody telling me, patting me and not giving me no encouraging words, but feeling how they feeling, but they don't know how I'm feeling. So it's a different thing. But I thank my children here who are a pillar and a strong force with me, and thank God, first of all.
Yes, ma'am.
And I thank you also.
Oh, you're so welcome.
I love your strength.
Thank you.
And I'm wondering, where did you get it from?
I'm sure it's really, I truly believe that out of all the things that I've experienced, even outside of, losing Ty-Key, I just think that this is what God, this was my assignment, to help others and to do exactly what I'm doing with you guys today. Because I just still see, and I'm not going to let this go, I still see you guys on another platform sharing your story to other people so that they can heal from this and be able to talk freely about their loved one. Because I think a lot of that, well, what I do know is a lot of holding our grief in, it physically does something to us inside. So this gives an opportunity for, like I said, so many other families to come forward. It gives an opportunity for you to feel more freely about talking about it. And I know you guys do anyway, not saying that this is going to make that much of a difference, but it really will help others see, what all that you have experienced, and that they can have the opportunity to be able to do the same. Just by you guys showing up today and saying, yes, we want to do this as a family. And my hopes is that more families do come forward to do it.
And also, it's ironic because the daddy came to the house that Thanksgiving before that December, because Chandra normally picks his place when he don't come to family functions. But that time she told him she wasn't gonna fix it. He got to come and get it. And it was at my home, and everybody was there. And guess who showed up? Keondrick Daddy Abrams. And that was a surprise, because he's a private person. He don't like really big family gatherings and things, which he didn't. He loved him and Ty-Key. That was from birth. That was them too.
Yeah, because we had them 2 days apart.
Right.
We were at the hospital at the same time. I'm sure,
Right.
back then you was in the hospital for at least a week. So I'm sure, Chandra, we was probably on the same floor. Not even
them our twins. We call them the twins.
Right,
and I also have pictures of them at school at Hallmark Elementary. I still have those pictures. And Daddy got his head on Dunk's shoulder. Daddy had down Dunk hair. Wham.
And I'm just so
those
blessed.
are good
I'm
memories.
so blessed to have had you all as, you're just like the three angels for my life, for my sons, for me not being, and I tell that story all the time. I didn't raise Ty-Key. He was raised by his father in a community. Like it says, it takes a village to raise a child. And I really look not only to just myself of being a part of his life, but it was his father, it was you all, it was his aunts and other uncles. And, he had such a big support system. But I know you all had played such a significant role in his life. But I also want to talk about Keondrick's legacy. Did he have children and his siblings?
Yes, 2 daughters, the same age. One of them lives with me. I take care of her.
What's her name?
Keondrick Abrams.
Okay.
That's what kind of helped me a little bit, knowing that I was gonna have to, take care of her, because I really don't know where I be at right now. Like, it was hard.
Now, she wasn't born yet when he passed, or was she?
No.
Okay.
So neither one of them was born
Okay.
when he was murdered.
Okay. All right. Now, talk to me about young Keondrick. Who was he to you, Mom?
He was my firstborn. He was everything. He was just always a protector and always looked out, even for his younger brothers. That's why it was so hard for them as it was for me. It was always us, me and my 3 boys. I mean, they looked up to him so much they wanted to be him, basically like him.
Yeah. And what are the siblings' names?
Ecorn Forehand is one. Is my middle child. And my younger, his name is Davion Moultrie.
And I'm sure they miss their brother. I know they do.
Yeah, and Davion was 12 at the time. He was the one that was with me and with us at the crime scene. And Equan was 14 at the time, so like it was real hard on them.
Yeah.
Like really, really hard.
I'm so sorry that this happened to your family, happened to Ty-Key. You know, Ty-Key just loved him. Now
Yeah, that was my baby too.
Oh,
I loved that boy.
Let me tell you, I found a letter the other day because I have it on my altar, and it talks about, it says, "Dear Mama." So not only am I the only person in this letter, he talks about me, he talks about my mother, he talks about you, and he talks about his aunts. So all of these women were his moms. So and he talks about the severity of how each of us took care of him. And I mean, I can barely read some of the writing, but it's such a great sentiment to how many women that was a part of his life. And I had found the pictures that Miss Locke, when you came to visit Ty-Key here in Atlanta, I had found them, but something happened to my SD drive, so I'm trying to get them back. So I'm hopeful that I actually sent it to Geek Squad to get fixed. So I'm hoping that they'll be able to retrieve those photos for me. But Miss Locke, please share with us the lifestyle of Keondrick, Lil Daddy, being in the music industry. Can you talk about that a little bit? Okay.
So, and one day we were at Chandra house when she stayed on Young Street, and it was all of them there. It was Daddy, Dunk, Ty-Key. I call his name twice because I love them boys so much. It was Bussa, Doodoo, Casey, Equan, Dave, all them, and they were saying, and live, they were saying that they were gonna go to the studio, and I said, "Well, y'all going with Dunk or whatever?" And I made a joke, to say that Dunk is the only one that know how to rap. So, at that moment, Daddy started bobbing his head with his head down or whatever, and he just started saying, "Long nights up on the block." It started off with a rock. And I said, "Hold on, is that Dunk?" He said, "No, auntie, this me." And he opened his paper up and he went word from word with his rap or whatever. And he said, "How do you think I should come in?" or whatever. I said, "Well, I'm not a rapper, so maybe you could ask Dunk to help you format it." And Dunk said, "Listen, leave it how it is. It sound hard." But at the end of it, they switched it and he started it another way. And the way they had it, that was their first song. And it got so much meaning behind just the title because of the situation, And it says, "Fuck friend, we about business. All this talking ain't with it. Yeah, we know around the city, get money cut though committed." And they story is that title. And I say, even though I have an older nephew, which is my brother's son, so he didn't really grow up around us. Daddy was like my first nephew, in-house, because I'm always was with my sister.
Yeah.
And Daddy was like the crybaby. She hate to hear that, but he was a crybaby. He was a crybaby when he was little, but as he got older, I thought I was the protector. Daddy was literally the protector. Like,
yeah,
people couldn't even say nothing wrong to his mama, say nothing wrong to me, even his friends. None of his friends, if they was in school and something went on, Daddy was right there for his friends. Neither one of them boys was bullies or nothing, but they didn't let nobody mess with them at all.
Absolutely.
And he, like my nephew's spirit, like they got me in them so much, and his two younger brothers looked up to Daddy so much. Like Daddy was their big brother, but he was like their daddy. He was like both of their best friends, and like for them, life completely changed for them because they basically, they daddy, they big brother, they best friend, he was gone. They protector was gone.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Then the next person in line was dumped, and he wasn't the same anymore. You know what I'm saying? So that took a toll on not just them, but everybody. But for the most part, because boys, they don't like to talk about it. They don't express.
Yeah. You
know what I'm saying? We try to be that. If you need to talk, come talk to us. But a lot of times it don't, it don't. In the Black community, people are scared to talk about their mental health and go to therapy and stuff like that. So with them, they still need an outlet. They still need, I wish they could have been here as well, to get some of that off their chest, because they still, go through it. And I'm just glad that you do have this for people like us, because this never ever gets better. Like,
yeah,
all I do is try to keep their memories alive, share pictures, I write on their pages. It's just a lot of stuff you really have to do to stay sane.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't understand it.
I truly appreciate you talking about the mental health part of it and what's happening in our community and how we don't talk about it and how we don't go and seek, support in those areas. So what are some of the emotional and physical reactions that each of you had over time due to the loss of Keondrick? And Chandra, you can start out, because I know you already suffer with something, but were there any other physical or emotional reactions to you in regards, of course, to losing him? Let me ask you this: any other cycles of grief, which there are, of course, the denial, the anger, the bargaining, the depression, the acceptance. Can you speak on any of those pieces of the emotional grief cycle?
I was like, it was like I wasn't there for a while. Mm-hmm. I was in bed. Mama would tell me, try to get up out of that, slump on me and try so I can at least like get up and be me again. But it wasn't as easy. Mm-hmm. It was hard.
Yeah.
And like I said, that grandbaby would help me get out of it, but still, I still have my days now. Mm-hmm. It's not as often, but I still have them. Yeah. I the cemetery, even though I want to go, but I can't. Every time I go, I break down. Like it's just too hard. Like I couldn't even. I went to the funeral home. Me and my sister, and then his father came, and to try to plan, and make arrangements. And I left out when we started talking about arrangements or whatever. I went back in and sat out for a minute. But then when we left, I never went back.
Yeah.
I didn't make one arrangement. I didn't purchase nothing. I couldn't even tell you what nothing came from for the funeral. I don't even remember half of most of the funeral. I don't remember maybe two things about the funeral: when his friends spoke, and when these three girls had wrote a song for him and they sung it in rap. Because during my brother's funeral, my mama had just two people to sing that she know, and I enjoyed they singing. I asked her what she, find them, and she told me they had sung it. Dad and my grandma at my funeral, and I didn't even know it because I just wasn't there mentally.
Yeah. Wow. I remember coming to the house to see you guys. And Ty-Key.
I don't even remember you coming to see me.
Yeah, I came to see you guys. Ty-Key was still in ICU at this point. and we came over, and I had, and this is a truer feeling. I don't know if I ever had shared this with you, but I felt so guilty. I really did. I felt so guilty that I'm coming to, be there and show my condolences because your son passed and my son was still living. And I felt this weight of guilt of coming to even see you, to talk to you. And I don't think we probably didn't have a lot to say. We just, we were just there holding space and, hugging each other. And, is there anything I can do? All of the things that you do when you go visit family. And we did that, and we sat there for some time. But I just remember having such this guilt of Ty-Key was alive and Keondrick was dead. I mean, we are supposed to be okay with whatever feelings that we have, but that was just true to one of the feelings that I initially had as a mother coming to support you, and my son had lived. So I don't know if I had ever shared that with you, but I do want to just share that. But it's a part of life. It's a part of grieving. It's a part of, not knowing what to do or what to say. It was, it's a real emotion of what I had, but because I just felt all this weight on me, because we still didn't know, how well Ty-Key was going to be after, his whole battle of being in ICU which was a short period of time, but yet we just still was unsure of how his brain was going to react to the surgery. So I just needed to share that, just because I don't know if I ever even told you that, but it's okay for us to feel whatever way that we feel. I had to, over time, I had to just acknowledge every part of my grieving process to say, it's okay that I felt that way. Why did I feel that way? I have no idea, but I'm sure it was because one child was dead and one child was alive, and then to see you all still so much hope there still for the fight for Ty-Key when Ty-Key was in ICU, which just, you guys were so supportive to me at the same time, but just in that moment, I felt so much guilt. But to see everything that had transpired after that, you also lost your mother, right, Miss Tippy? And I'm going to call her Miss Tippy too.
Yes, I lost her the next Saturday after the day of that incident. It was December 26th. I brought her home because there was nothing they can do for us. So I brought her back home with me, so she spent her last days, around family and love. And so when I was planning Daddy's funeral, and I ended up planning that, and I couldn't go through two separate funerals. And thank God that Daddy and her was members of the same church, Mount Zion Baptist Church, and Daddy and Chandra, other two boys got baptized at the same time. And they was members, so I ended up, doing that together. And I had to, do what I had to do, for the arrangements, me and Miss Locke, and then I wrote the program out and get the people the same, because I love good music. I don't like no dead music, And so I got my friends together who I knew and had them come and do what they had to do. And it was a joyous occasion, but a sad occasion, and all this. And that's one reason I used to usher. And I have not ushered no more since that occasion, January the 6th, 2012, because those two caskets was in the front of the church, and I couldn't do it. I just stopped ushering. And everything. And after 61 years now, I rejoined it. I was in Mount Zion for 61 years. So I'm now rejoined. I went to another church, St. John Divine, and I'm a member of that church now, and I'm enjoying it. I love that saint. I love Pastor Marshall also. He bring the word through songs and praise, and he bring the word through teaching. So I'm trying to do my best and stay focused, but it is very, very hard, and it's a one-day process.
Yes, yes. And I'm so glad that we have you on the show, because a lot of time people try to make it seem as though grief from grandparents is insignificant, which grieving grandparents have a voice. And that's why I'm so glad that you are here today, Miss Tibby, because I wanted you to be able to share, how how that experience of trying to, support your daughter, but yet you have your own feelings of your own loss for your grandson. Can you share and talk about that?
Yes, it's hard. I'm talking about, I never would have thought that it would occur in my family. Like a lot of people right now who lost, they never would have thought. And it doesn't matter what kind of background they had, it's through all walks of life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if they stay in the mansion, suburb area, the projects, it just doesn't hit one area. It's hitting all areas.
Yes,
and it hurts. And it's not the older people we seeing, we take it to the graveyard. It's the younger people. When we was coming up in our days, we just fought and everything, and hey, play it again, same day,
yeah,
and get over it. But now, it is hell. It is, and so you don't know, don't ever say, oh, they ain't gonna never have nobody in my family. I never said it, but I never thought it would happen, but it did. And I'm a living, walking testimony to that.
And you're also a grieving mother from losing your son due to gun violence. Can you talk about your son, Jesse?
Yes, that was Tippy number 6. Ms. Locke gave us that name, Tippy 6. And he was my last child, my third son. I have 3 boys and 3 girls. And I was at work when it happened. And it happened on one of our Peace Leaders Days when he was shot. Martin Luther King's birthday, January 19, 2015. And he was just like Daddy and Ty-Key, mind their own business. And he was a person. He didn't bother nobody. He was quiet and everything. And I don't know the reason why, but he's gone and it hurts. He was just 29, December 5th. And it still hurts. You think about him. Then the birthday's coming up. And then it's just like everyday life occurrence may come up. Just like I think about when I do steaks, he always tell me, ooh, Miss Locke steaks be better than yours, Mama. So I said, won't you go to Miss Locke house and let her cook you one and give me mine back? But he takes it anyway, good memories. And then when things like that occur, good memories bring tears to your eyes too.
Yeah.
Because they are not physically here with you. Just you're going through mental and emotional things, even then when they're gone.
Yeah. And
he left 3 girls here and everything. And I'm talking about, so I'm going through it, and when I visit one, like I say, I visit them because the Jessie is right here. My mom is in the middle and Dad's on the other side of her. So when I go and put flowers, hey, I have to do all of them.
Yeah.
And I do stay out there a lot because I want them, like they walked around nice. I want where they resting at look nice also,
Yeah.
But I just want to tell everybody, it's a hurting thing. But God is good. And one day my joy will probably come. It don't come the next day.
Yeah.
And when the time my joy to come, the good Lord will send it to me. Things that we go through in life, these are our teachers. And when we travel this journey, it is called life. You don't know what life gonna bring you. You just have to take one day at a time and pray and ask for the best.
Yes, absolutely. So what have been some ways that you both have learned to, and I know, Chandra, you said earlier, it's a lot of your healing has come from your granddaughter, but what have been some of the other things that how you guys have adapted to the losses? What have been some things that you can share with other people, like things that you have been able to do to, like help you guys move forward?
Help us move forward. I say we just lean on each other more. I actually pray a lot. I got a app on my phone. It's like Bible verses. You can set it for any time you want. It comes on. It's called Bible, like the hashtag Bible, and you can set it for whatever time you want. Some people might set it for in the morning, but I set it for lunch because my mornings will be okay. Sometimes when that evening hit, you might get a little crazy. So at 12 o'clock, my Bible verse will pop up. That helps a lot. Definitely the pictures, the memories, stuff like that. It helps.
Like you say, reminiscing.
And memorials. We do have memorials every year during their birthdays.
Okay.
And we go to the cemetery. Shannon don't go, but I'm normally the one, and Miss Locke. We'll go there and we'll eat. We may go to a restaurant. We may have something at home and everybody get together. Yeah. And that helps. And it keeps that memory alive, not in a negative way, but a positive way. Let them know that we moving on. But you all are still here with us because they are forever in our hearts. And love does count. Love is what love does, and family counts and matters. No matter where they're at, in the graveyard or living. And some people even ignore their family members walking on this earth. But we take not to do that because we are love with the capital L, O-V-E.
Yes, ma'am.
And for me, it's like the kids, the children. Like I'm always with a house full. I enjoy that. Even though they be loud and playing and running, I be screaming out sometimes. That's what I enjoy. Everybody bring the kids to me. So I have everybody.
She a good one on that. I can't do it.
Well, look, I know that's to be true because Ty-Key stayed there. He loved to be around you. I mean, he just always. The one line that I can never forget in one of his songs is, when he talks about Chandra, God Mama off top, he just really looked up to you and just really appreciated you just being such a very, 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 and I can't say it enough, significant part of his life, showing him the love of having that motherly love when I wasn't even there. Because, he was with his dad, and shortly after his stepmother ended up leaving, there was no mommy there every day, but you fit the role for him. And I truly, truly appreciate that and just give so much homage to you. So thank you for just being a love in his life, having that motherly bond. All three of you were just, the aunt, the grandmother, all three of you were such a big, huge part of his life. And I'm just so grateful to each of you. And even after Ty-Key was shot, you guys were still there, helping him through, the mental health that he was, having. I think such a big part of before the trial, Ty-Key really wanted to make sure that he was going to be able to bring justice for the family. And I was so proud of him for, because that was difficult for him.
I know.
The weeks up until even weeks after, he struggled so much with his mental health. And I remember us all being at the courthouse and, there was days that we had to pull him out. There was days, we had to go calm him down, and he definitely didn't appreciate, remember he had a lot of police officers following him every 2 seconds, and he couldn't stand that. Y'all know how Dunk was.
Right.
He don't like to popos anyway. But when they had to, because he was the key witness to this criminal trial, they had to follow him to the restrooms, down the hall, or if he went outside, and he just really didn't like that. But his reaction to the verdict was a huge hug to Miss Tippy first. You were his first hug.
Hugs, boy, he would hug you and squeeze you so tight.
Yeah. So
yeah, my baby too.
Absolutely. And before we go, I want you guys to share any other memories of Daddy, and also just a family story about him, or just what would be, since I'm going to air this for the death anniversary of Keondrick, what would you want the world to know about him?
That he was loved. I'm talking about him. If his name was Keondrick, he should have been loved. You know, because he showed he was very compassionate. I remember he was little, and they let the puppy get out on T Street in Gonzales, and the puppy got hit. And he put the poor puppy, he would carry the dead puppy in his arm, crying, and his face all twisted. Now he can tear face up when he's crying. And I felt so sorry for him because he was going through this. And who picks up a dead puppy off the street, a little child? They'll leave him down there. But he picked that puppy up in his arms and brought the puppy home to be buried.
Yes.
He was just a protector. That was like one big thing too about him. He didn't play.
Yeah.
About family. He was the man of the house, basically.
Yeah.
You know. And I miss that so much. I do. Like, I always wonder, like, what would he be like? Even both of them, what would they be like? Now they probably still be at the house with me, with all their friends piled up in the room, getting on my nerve, sneaking girls in when I wake up, see girls going in the room. Like, they was doing all that, but I enjoyed them.
Yeah.
Like, I really did. And after that, I was just like, my love, all my boys was like, he was so strong. That's why it was so hard for me, because I know he wasn't invincible, but it was just so hard for me. I just couldn't believe that my firstborn, my protector, my man, my baby is not here with me no more, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, me, I say that smile and that big old chin, I used to call him Crimson Chin, and him and Dunk with them duck feet.
Oh,
like, duck feet wasn't cool until they came about, like, until they exposed that. Mm-hmm. And the two-step dance that Chandra brought up earlier, they used to call that the boogaloo. And they'll get in front of us and they'll say, come on, let's do the boogaloo, auntie. And we'll hit the boogaloo a little bit. Don't say it in one of his songs.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So, like Chandra said, they used to sneak them girls over there. One time she was in the hospital and I pulled up and the girl, I read her lips. They say, oh, that's auntie. So the girls say, oh shit, what should I do? And they say, man, that's our auntie, but she cool. Watch when she get out. Watch how she talk to us. So when I get out, I say, Chandra gonna kill y'all effing in her house. And the girl, she was like looking crazy. And another girl come out and they happen to be the one that got pregnant by Dad. And so it was just, them boys was crazy, man. They really was. And I miss them, love them to death. It's like, man, it's just the memories that really keep me going. Like, it's hard, especially the whole month of December for me. And then coming around into January and February, it's like these 3 months is like,
oh yeah,
and crazy for me.
Absolutely. I think that's for all of us, because we have December 17th all the way to, okay, January is Ty-Key's death anniversary.
January 25th.
Then you have Ty-Key's birthday, and then you have Keondrick's birthday. So that's what I always share with
Jesse
people.
got shot in January. He died February the 2nd.
Wow.
Right.
Who else? You said your brother, and who else?
They birthdays, because Jesse's birthday, Jesse's birthday December the 5th.
Wow.
And
so
then
really
December the 17th, then my grandmother's death date.
That's right.
And then January Dump and Jessie. Jessie got shot, but he survived until February the 2nd. And then their birthdays, and my granny birthday, January the 20th. So it's just like everything bunched up in these 3 months. It kind of do drive me kind of crazy.
Trust me, I totally understand that. I feel that, and when a lot of time when I talk to a lot of the other women that are part of the gun violence prevention movement, I try to make sure that they are aware that, it's just not that day coming up towards December 17th, but for me, for 5 years, I lived with so much anxiety and panic attacks up till the time period before December 17th. It would really, really mess with my insides. It would mess with my chronic pain because I suffer from chronic pain. I would be in the hospital. I was in the hospital 5 years straight, surrounding the time before December 17th every year for 5 years. And I didn't realize it until I started getting those doctor bills and start realizing now this is a pattern. Every December, I'm here in the hospital, but and it would always be this very unknown diagnosis, but they just end up, saying, oh, you have fibromyalgia, or, because I was also having a lot of heart problems too at the time, but just didn't realize that it was the anxiety and me having panic attacks about this time period coming. I would literally freak out. And you guys, the craziest thing, I'm way here when I get the phone call and have to drive 4.5 hours to get there. You guys are already there, so I can only imagine. I remember the last December 17th that I talked to Ty-Key. I said I'm not going to even call him this year on December the 17th. Let me just allow him to talk about it if he feels free to talk about it, because everybody was always just trying to check in with him around December 17th for those couple of years. And to my surprise, I called him maybe 2 days later and I said, hey, how are you? And he says, oh, Mom, I'm doing pretty good. Sounded very well. And he said, I said, so how did you do? On the death anniversary. He was like, oh man, I did good. And he was like, I went to work, just, sat around the house. I didn't go to work the day of, but, he said he was doing well. And then he told me that he had this this common spiritual experience about Daddy. He said he was sitting in his dad's car because he was staying with his dad. They had a car that wasn't working, but was just sitting in the driveway. And he would just go in there and sit from time to time, I think, just to get out of the house. And he said he had this experience with little Daddy coming to him. And he said, Mom, and this is why I knew it was such a real experience for him, because he said he wasn't young anymore. He had a full beard. He was older. His hair had done grown out. He was like the age that I am now. So he was 22. He was that age, because they were getting ready to turn 23. But he was like, yeah, he was older. He came to me in his older form, and he told me, man, we got to get this music out here. We got to get this music. So Ty-Key was trying to prepare, mentally to put out some more music. But of course, it didn't transpire into an album. But he had that experience, and I truly believe still to this day that he did, even when he didn't realize that Daddy had died first. His experience of what happened, he was shot first. He didn't remember Daddy being shot, but his experience was Daddy came out of the car and was shaking him to wake him up. That we know that didn't occur, but that was his spiritual
his spirit
experience.
Could have done it.
Absolutely, that's what I'm saying.
Daddy's spirit came
right.
to him.
That was his spiritual experience of what was happening, even in that time. So I'm saying all that to say that their spirit still lives. Their spirit is still alive. You asked me earlier, how my soul, how have I, become so strong? I don't really necessarily see that I am strong in this aspect, because I have my bad days too. I still suffer with this pain inside of, because I felt so angry at one point. Why didn't you just take him on December 17th? Why did we have to go through this twice? You know what I mean? And y'all know that for yourself. Right. Why did we all have to experience this 2 times? Why couldn't he just be, why didn't he just die that night? I was angry about that part with God. And having to experience that again, I think just living through it and finding ways to heal myself, which I have created self-care plans, which helps me breathe, which helps me work on what I'm feeling and not to suppress my emotions. That's a big, huge thing that if all of you could share with your family members, like, I know y'all say y'all talk about it and everything, but not to say if the feeling does come up about him or about them, don't suppress it, feel it. And if it's hard to feel, it's okay. Allow yourself to feel it. That's the point with us, is we don't know how to not suppress because we've done it for years, for centuries. Our ancestors did that too. So we have to learn how to actually feel that negativity, those words that we say to ourselves that are negative. We have to learn how to just, sit with them. And if it's sadness, if it's mad, if it's whatever that is, allow that feeling to come up and then let it just go away. But we can't not deal with them because that does other internal stuff within our bodies. A big thing for me was meditation, listening to my favorite music, which is jazz, and keeping a journal. And, I love my candles, and I do a lot of self-care stuff for myself. So that's where a lot of my strength comes from. And I'm just so grateful today that you guys are in the movement, talking about gun violence and talking about how it has affected your life. I want to ask you all, and anybody can answer this. If I was to say, what is grief? Tell me what your answer is to you. What does that mean to you? Grief is what?
For me, grief is being able to, it's like a self thing for me. Like me personally, a lot of times I do hold it in, but a lot of times I do tell people, hey, breathe, let it out. And a lot of times I don't even do it because, like I said, I have to be strong for everybody else. So grief is pretty much what you make of it. I can say, like, what's best for you, So yeah, I say it that way. Sometimes I do have bad days where I'm not a big crier. So like I will maybe cry in the shower. I don't really like crying in front of people or something like that unless something is going on at the moment.
You don't like to cry, you won't cry. She would cry.
I said if it's at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm not huge on it.
Yeah, she don't cry much.
So like that's what grief is to me, like dealing with it in your own way. Whatever works for you is your own particular grief.
And Miss Tippy, answer this one for me. Grief is not.
Grief is not hate. Sometimes you have to turn it around. Because right. if you get like that, it takes away what you're trying to accomplish and get over. You cannot overcome with hate and hatred. Yeah. You dislike, and at the moment you may hate, and hate is a powerful word, but if you don't let it eat your insides up, you will overcome it.
Yeah. And Chandra, you said something very important. You said it's not easy.
It's not. For me, like, I don't want to hate nobody.
It's your true feelings.
But, like,
it's okay to feel how you want to feel.
Yeah.
My baby was taken, so I asked God to take it out of my heart, because I don't want to feel that. But right now, today, I still do. Mm-hmm. Maybe further along down the line, it might change, but like, that's my baby, and I miss him, and I need him with me,
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Thank you, ladies, so much for coming on It's the Miami Night Show Grief Talk and sharing your story and being just as open about the tragic loss of losing Keondrick and his best friend, Ty-Key, Mr. Slug Mode Douglas. I truly appreciate you guys just being here today, just giving the opportunity for other families to be able to know it's okay to share your story, and and to be able to do it for many different platforms. Here on It's the Miami Night Show, this is a place for a safe space for all families. So I'm so grateful to all three of you. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
I was saving this for the 17th,
Okay.
but I had this made.
Let's see.
Can you see it?
Yeah, I can. Oh my gosh, you're gonna have to also send me a actual
I will.
live picture of it so I can oh, that is so
You see, I got my boys up top. That was the last picture they
That's
took.
the last picture. Yes. I have that on my it's on my screen downstairs. So they pop up all the time because
We didn't even know that. This is my first time seeing it.
Oh really? Yes. No, I have it on my
She was saved it for the 17th.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. Oh, look, you see it first here, you guys. You seen it first here on It's the Miami Night Show. So
and free promotion for Greg. He does good work in Pensacola, Florida. I will send you his information so you can post it. If anybody in Pensacola need any work done, he does good work.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I definitely will just make sure I get a copy of that, and I will go ahead and post that when we share this video. Is there any of you like to share your social media platforms at this time?
It's Letibria Locke, Letib like in boy, ERIA Locke, LOCKE. You can add me, I'll add you back. I share stuff about them, pictures. I might write on their page one day just to tell them that I miss them, or may share something that they once, put on there sometime. Ty-Key have tagged me in raps and stuff like that. Daddy wasn't a real big Facebooker, but Facebook had just came about right before,
right,
that happened. But I share his pictures, and if we do something as a family and his kids are there, I share pictures of Keone and Kimi, which we call them. That's their nicknames, Kimari and Keone.
Okay.
I share stuff to their pages and stuff like that. So, and I also was trying to get something going for like siblings that have lost, because we go through things as well as the parents and the grandparents as well. And it's never easy for us.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Like I said, thank you guys for being on the show. I look forward to working with you even further, getting this information out, and we will talk again soon. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
I cried, I tried to hold it back, but I can't face the fact I'm missing you. I prayed that I'm okay, and even though I'm straight, I'm missing you.
I know you reaching cases ever since they buzzed my face. I've been hollering about you straight. Told the police you was safe. Seemed like yesterday we were riding chasing money just to make sure it okay when you come home to get your cake. Seemed like that conversation keep on playing in the back of my ears. It's too surreal, and I can't help how I feel. Somebody take the tears away from my eyes, 'cause even though I know that I could never see your face, I still wait. I'm still waiting on my surprise. Cause you were holding my thumb like my twin brother. Everybody know my boom and slow. Had and thumb, we gone. You know how it goes, so from the grave to the grave. I'm listening. Slow mo.
He's got me walking that grief one.
Going slow mo.
He's got me talking that grief tongue.
Going slow mo.
He's got me clocking the way.
It's the Miami Night Show.
Hey, yeah.
Slow mo.
He's got me walking that grief walk.
Going slow-mo.
He's got me talking that grief talk.
Going slow-mo.
He's got me clocking away.
What up, tribe? It's Miami Night, your Master Grief Coach. Welcome to the Miami Night Show. You got me walking that grief walk. It's time for Grief Talk, y'all.
I talk about things you think about.
It's Miami Night, your Master Grief Coach.